You speak Russian correctly, but Russians may perceive you as cold. Not because you made a mistake, but because tone is very important in Russian. Hey guys, привет! Today, I'll show you 5 correct phrases that sound dry and unfriendly, and how to say them softer and more natural. At the end, I'll give you one universal politeness formula. Let's get started. The first phrase that sounds correctly from the grammar point of view. Можно чай? Можно чай? Grammatically, it is correct, but it sounds like a short command. In Russian, short requests often sound cold or impatient. Better add мне and пожалуйста. Можно мне чай, пожалуйста? You also can say можно чай, пожалуйста. So, as you understood, мне and пожалуйста make the tone softer. The next phrase is Дайте кофе. Дайте кофе. This phrase sounds too direct and commanding. Sometimes it's acceptable in cafeteria, but actually I wouldn't recommend you to use it in this way, because anyway it sounds rude. Instead, use next phrases. Можно кофе, пожалуйста? Мне кофе, пожалуйста. Можно мне кофе? Pay attention to the combination of words. Можно, пожалуйста. Мне, пожалуйста. Можно, мне. In short words, in service situations, Russians prefers a request, not an order. Let's move on to the next phrase. Я хочу оплатить картой. Я хочу оплатить картой. Хочу is very direct in Russian. It can sound sharp or demanding. Russians prefer talking about possibility, not desire. Можно оплатить картой? Я могу оплатить картой. Можно картой? In Russian, I want is too personal and too strong. Let's look at the difference between можно чай and можно картой. Why does one sound cold while the other sounds polite? In Russian, these are two different situations. Можно картой is a question about method. How can I pay? The verb is already clear. Can I pay by card? This sounds neutral and polite. Можно чай is a question about an object. What do you want? In Russian, it sounds like, can you give me tea? Give is very direct in Russian. That's why the phrase sounds sharp. Let's compare. Можно картой – method. Можно чай – object. To sound polite, the phrase needs softening. Можно мне чай, пожалуйста? Можно чай, пожалуйста? So it all means in Russian it's better to ask about possibility, not just name an object. Let's move on to the word нет. No. For example, let's read the next dialogue. Вам пакет? Нет. It's correct, but it sounds like the conversation is cut off. Almost always add спасибо to sound more polite. I'll give you 3 examples. Нет, спасибо. Не нужно, спасибо. Спасибо не надо. Спасибо is a signal that you are friendly. And the last phrase is повторите. Повторите. Repeat. Even with пожалуйста, it can sound like a command. Turn the command into a request. And your phrase can sound like «Можно еще раз, пожалуйста?» «Не могли бы вы повторить?» «Я не расслышал, можно еще раз?» Now, the most important question. Why do these phrases sound cold? Because they are too short. In Russian, short often perceived as rude. Let's have a look at universal politeness formula. Use пожалуйста, спасибо, мне, можно, не могли бы вы to sound more polite. For example, можно мне воду, пожалуйста? Нет, спасибо. Не могли бы вы повторить? This is not grammar. This is communication culture. To sound natural in Russian, it's not enough to know the words. You need to know how Russians soften their speech. Write in the comments, which phrase do you use most often? Thanks for learning Russian with me. Спасибо. Пока.